Hello everyone, today we are assigned to discuss the science and coding system of Western theatrical tradition. So there are 8 types of drama in Western theatrical tradition, and these are the Greek drama, Roman drama, medieval drama, Renaissance drama, drama from 1750 to 18th century, 18th century drama, 19th century drama, and 20th century drama.
So what is drama? It derives from the Greek word drama, which means an action. This comes as no surprise, since drama is basically an acting. So the current capital of the Hellenic Republic of Greece, which is the Athens, is where it all began. The Western dramatic tradition has its origin in ancient Greece. The precise tradition, or precise evolution, rather, of its main divisions, the tragedy, comedy, and satire, is not definitely known. According to Aristotle, Greek drama, or more explicitly, the Greek tragedy, originated in Dithyramb. So what is Dithyramb? It was a choral hymn to the god Dionysus or Dionysus, and involved exchanges between a lead singer and the chorus. Generally, the earlier Greek tragedies place more emphasis on the chorus than later ones. In the majestic plays of Aeschylus, the chorus serves to underscore the personalities and the situation of the characters and to provide ethical comment on the action. So next is the Roman drama. The Roman theater never approached the heights of the Greek, and the Romans themselves had little interest in serious dramatic endeavors, being drawn towards sensationalism and spectacle. The earliest Roman dramatic attempts were simply translations from the Greek. The 9 tragedies of the philosopher and the statesman Seneca are gloomy and lurid, emphasizing the sensational aspects of Greece. So in Roman drama, sinasabi po dito na influence sila by the Greek drama or the Greek theater, since ang pinaka sinimulan or pinaka unang nagkaroon ng play or theater play is the Greek or in Greece. So ayun po. So there are 3 main types of plays which is discussed earlier. So the first one is the comedies. It is made fun of famous people such as celebrities in their times and politicians. The next is the tragedy. This is more serious, and they were usually about heroes whose pride get the better of them. So, like gaya po ng dun po kanina sa nasabi about sa chorus, which is yung kay Aeschylus about sa tragedy, parang mas nag-applicable po yung tragedy na type ng plays kasi mas napapakita yung katapangan ng mga heroes that time. So like Aeschylus nga. So ayan. The third one is the satire. It is a combination of comedy and tragedy, and they were very good. So these are the signs in Greek drama and Roman drama. Since parehas lang po sila ng execution ng play, kasi nga po parang magkadikit lang talaga sila ng perform ng mga plays. So ayun po. The first one is the mask, the exaggerated mask. As you can see the picture, their code is to change their appearance. Since that time po, pwede lang po mag-perform is yung mga men, yung mga lalaki. So kaya po nagsusuot sila ng mga mask, exaggerated mask. So also it is easier for the actors to switch characters without confusing the audience. So ayun po. And also, um, depende din po yung sinusuot ng mga actors na mask dun sa pinoportray nilang play. So, yun po. Para mas ma-feel po ng mga audience kung ano po yung piniperform ng mga actors. So, the next one is the semicircle stage. So, the code is the sound from the stage could reach every audience member. So, kung bakit daw po semicircle yung stage na pinaggagawa ng play po is because para po maabot yung pinakapunot dulo no, na mga audience kasi parang semicircle nga. So kumbaga parang mas wide or concave din yung voice na actors. So yun po. The next one is their acting or their rituals. The code is to show how they praise the Dionysus or Dionysus and whichever gods they are portraying. So sinasabi lang po dito na through their acting, through their rituals, napapakita kung gaano sila, kung paano sila mag-praise sa pinaniniwalaan nilang Diyos that time. So, ayun po. Next is the costumes. So, the code is to determine the characters by gender or social status. In the early production, actors have been using body painting. Little by little, they started using animal skins, ears, even feathers. So yun. So as you can see from the picture po, even sa costumes that time, mayroon din pong standards na pag ganito yung suot mo, excuse me, means mahirap ka, and then pag ganito yung suot mo means nakakaangat ka. So ayun po. So yung sinasabi po nilang they started using animal skins, their use that time is the goat, yung skin po ng goat. So yun po. And also the chorus. And the code is to provide background and summary information to the audience to help them understand what was going on the performance. Because Greek theaters were so large, the members of the chorus had to work hard to look and sound like one person. So, ito pong sinasabi, or yung code na sinasabi dito sa chorus, is parang hanggang ngayon, ini-execute pa din siya. Kasi, yung chorus po is help din dun sa play, dun sa performance para maintindihan ng audience kung ano yung pinoportray ng actors or kung ano yung istorya na gusto nila sabihin dun sa mga manonood. So, yun po. And that's all po. Thank you.
Medieval drama. So, England came later than it did to Italy and dates around 1450 and had to split into Catholic and Protestant. The religion in England was simply Christian and the church was very powerful. This was the period when great cathedrals and monasteries were built. The language of the church was Latin, while the language of the ruling class was French following the Norman invasions in 1066. Medieval drama, this was the time that the peasants continued to speak Anglo-Saxon, which at this stage of its development is called Middle English. The word for una fecha in English is a play. Religion was an important part in the development of theatre. So recita or recita means to act or to play. So there are three types of plays developed with religious messages, and these are the mystery plays, miracle plays, and morality plays. The first one is the mystery plays. Mystery plays usually presenting biblical subjects and develop from plays presented in Latin by the churchmen on church premises and depicted such subjects as creation. Next is miracle play. Presents a real or fictitious account of life, miracles, or martyrdom of saint. They had been divorced from church services and were performed at public festivals. So miracle plays, the genre evolved from liturgical offices developed during the 10th and 11th centuries to enhance their calendar festivals. And the last one is morality plays. Morality plays are also called as morality, which the character personify qualities such as charity or vice, or abstraction as death or youth, and in which moral lessons are taught. So morality plays is an allegorical drama popular in Europe, especially during 15th and 16th centuries. In the Middle Ages, religious festivals and rituals were not only acts of worship, but they were also opportunities for entertainments during festivals such as Christmas and Easter. The most important events of an Old and New Testaments were represented in forms of dialogue song between a priest and a choir. So, Latin was replaced by the vernacular English. Next is Renaissance drama. The Renaissance is one of the widely acknowledged periods in the European history and civilization. It is known as an intellectual movement that started in the 14th century and lasted until the 16th one. The term of French origins literally means rebirth. The term Renaissance was first used with respectively by the Italian art historian Giorgio Vasari. During this period, the people started to boldly share their ideas and think outside the box. They defied the religious verdict and ideology through confronting the church and discerning its deceptive nature. The translation and imitations of classics occurred first in Italy, with Terence, Plautus, and Seneca as the models. The Italians strictly applied their interpretations of Aristotle's rules for the drama, and this rigidity was primarily responsible for the failure of the Italian Renaissance drama. W.R. Goodman defined Renaissance as follows. The Renaissance was in essence an intellectual rebirth where it showed itself in the effort of the individual to free himself from the rigid institutions of the Middle Ages, feudalism, and the church, and to assert his right to live and to express himself in accordance with more flexible secular code. Here are the signs in medieval drama and Renaissance drama. The first one is Latin to English, because it is easier for people to understand what is being said. Next is the hair and accessories. Headwears were not only decorative pieces, but also played a part in defining people's etiquettes and elegancy. Some coverings were used to protect the head from serious injuries. The props. They used small hand props to add realism to the scene. Makeup. Paleness meant refinement, while tan skin was a sign that you were a commoner who had to work in the sun to make ends meet. Stage area. The shape of the stage was octagonal, or circular was 14 or 20-sided. The buildings were made out of wood and could easily catch fire. There was an area at the back of the stage for quick costume changes, and the trapdoors served to facilitate spirits or disappearing corpses to hell. Staging, to serve as different locations and scene changes during the plays. Music and sound effects. Sound is used to evoke emotions, reflect the mood, and underscore actions in play and dances.
The 18th century drama. During this time of restoration, 18th century drama was very critical. The influence of Restoration comedy can be seen in the 18th century. The comedy is divided into three categories. 1. The humor. Made popular by the Renaissance playwright and poet Ben Jonson. Number 2. The manners. The most popular form of Restoration drama. And number 3. The intrigue. It has complicated plot and evolves around romance and adventure. This century also ushered in the middle class or domestic drama, which treated the problems of ordinary people. And when it comes to signs and symbols of 18th century drama, instead of using LED lights to light up the stage, they use candles or candelabra, and sometimes gas lamps and kerosene lamps, and their costume were designed to please the masses. That's why the 18th century stage afforded the best opportunity for lavish costumes to show the social status of a one's character. Some of the theater plays that I seen in the YouTube, characters usually wear gloves, especially women. Long gloves allowed women to hide the skin on their arms if they had no sleeve on their top, which enabled them to cover up and maintain their modesty, and it symbolized high status and clean hands. That's why the 18th century was the great age of drama. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Ronaldo Miliano Clemente and I was assigned to discuss about 19th and 20th century. 19th century theater describes a wide range of movements in the theatrical culture of Europe and the United States in the 19th century. In the West, they include Romanticism, melodrama, the well-made plays of Scribe and Sardou. Romanticism, also known as Romantic Era, was an artistic, literary, musical, and intellectual movement that originated in Europe towards the 18th century and in most areas was at its peak in the approximate period of 1800s to 1850. Romanticism was characterized by its emphasis on emotion and individualism as well as glorification of all the past and nature, referring the medieval rather than the classical. Melodrama. A modern melodrama is a dramatic work wherein the plot typically sensationalized and for a strong emotional appeal takes precedence over detailed characterization. Melodrama typically concentrate on dialogue that is often bombastic or excessively sentimental rather than action. Characters are often drawn and may appear stereotyped. Melodramas are typically set in the private sphere of the home, focusing on morality and family issue, love and marriage, often with challenges from an outside source such as a temptress. A Doll's House in 19th century. Sign: money. Money symbolizes men's control over women who were not allowed equal access to it. It begins with Nora asking Torvald for money and ends with her refusing to take any belongings from his house except those she owned before they met. Earning a symbolic kind of freedom when she refuses her husband's financial as she set out to find herself. In fact, the entire plot of the play was driven by Nora's taking money in secret from Krogstad. Christine, in direct contrast to Nora, has means to make money which makes her power to make her own choices. Tarantella. The Tarantella is an Italian folk dance based on Frenzen movement victims to draw out poison after being bitten by the spider. Nora's wild performance of his dance symbolizes and pretends Tolvard and Nora have set on the play and the samples of their relationship. He instructs and she performs. He criticizes and she dances faster to please, but that doesn't please him either. When Nora rehearses Tarantella, she dances with wild abandon. She is trying to please, but she is also frantic, perhaps to remove the poison of corruption Torvald has suggested she possessed when he refers to Krogstad's lack of character. The last one is birds. Birds are also symbols or signs that show up often when Nora is happy, in a way Torvald like, and expect to call her his skylark or songbird, which she frightened she is her dove. When she is unhappy, Torvald scold Nora, referring to her in terms of birds such as a songbird must have a clean beak. Birds represent Nora as a fragile light creature meant to entertain and delight him. But once he must also protect, they also represents Nora's light of freedom as she is like a bird in a cage, singing for her keep in the beginning of the play, but escaping her cage circumstances by the end. Waiting for Godot in 20th century. Signs. Leafless tree. The leafless tree near which Estragon and Vladimir meet is completely bare of leaves at the beginning of the play and represents the only organic element in the setting, and it's dead or at least dormant. This tree portrays the world as barren and lifeless, emphasizing the lack of purpose and meaning the character must contend with. The apparent growth of leaves in the tree in the Act 2 only adds the character's uncertainty about the place and the passage of time. The staging is telling that disregard despite Vladimir's description of the tree covered with leaves, and the staging direction explicitly specify only 4 or 5 leaves. Lucky's baggage. Lucky's baggage is a symbol or sign Lucky never puts down except when it's necessary to fulfill one of Pozzo's order, after which he immediately picks them up again even when he has been told not to do so. This action echoes a human tendency of enslavement to burdens, holding on to them even when doing is totally unnecessary, and baggage Lucky carries seems to consist mostly of items for Pozzo's those comforts. In Act 2, however, one of the bag which he never opened in Act 1 is revealed as certain only sand, yet Lucky take it up again and again. Another example of character dead by habits, fulfilling the task mindlessly and without her real purpose. The last one is Pozzo's rope. Pozzo's rope is the only rope that physically appeared in the play, and it represents the balance of power in relationship between Pozzo and Lucky. In Act 1, Pozzo dominated Lucky with a rope half the length of the stage. Pozzo drive Lucky by means of rope passed around his neck, and Lucky is often a recipient. Yet, Lucky accepts ever embrace the balance of power without question, as if he cannot envision any other state of himself. When the rope is shortened in Act 2, the balance of power in Pozzo and Lucky's relationship is less clear. Pozzo's now blind depends on Lucky for direction, and Lucky still depends psychologically on Pozzo. Also, there are numbers of figurative rope in the play. Vladimir and Estragon, like Pozzo and Lucky, are similarly tied to each other and tied to Godot, and believes that his arrival will provide a meaning for their lives. 20th century theater described a period of great change within the theatrical culture of the 20th century, mainly in Europe and North America. There was a widespread challenges to long-established rules surrounding theatrical representation, resulting in development of many new forms of theater, including modernism, expressionism, impressionism, political theater, and other forms of experimental theater, as well as the continuing development of already established theatrical forms like naturalism and realism. Modernism is both philosophical movement and an art movement that arose from broad transformation in Western society during the late 19th and early 20th century. The movement reflected a desire from the creation of new forms of art philosophy, and social organization which reflected the newly emerging industrial world, including features such as urbanization, new technology, and war. Expressionism was a movement in drama and theater that principally developed in Germany in the early decades of 20th century. It was then popularized in the United States, Spain, China, the UK, and all around the world. Similar to the broader movement of Expressionism in the art, Expressionist theater utilized typical elements and scenery with exaggeration and distortion to deliver strong feeling and ideas to the audience. Impressionism is the 19th century art movement characterized by relatively small, thin, yet visible brushstroke, open composition, emphasis on accurate depiction of light in its changing qualities, often accentuating the effect of passage of time. Ordinary subject matter, unusual visual angle, and inclusion of movement as a crucial element of human perception and experience. Political drama. A political drama can describe a play, film, or TV program that has a political component, whether reflecting a author's political opinion or describing a political or series of political events.